watching footy fantasy. It is sure say the thing go reach your football needs. Banter from rivalries, he sure you go receive. From EPL to Champions League, your eyes go see. It's footy fantasy, yeah, watching footy fantasy. Footy fantasy. It is sure say the thing go meet your football need. Your football need. Banter from rivalries, he sure you go receive. Sure you go receive. From EPL to Champions League, your eyes go see. Your eyes go see. It's footy fantasy. Footy fantasy.
Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Footy Fantasy Podcast Show. With me today is Mr. Steven, Spurs fan, sneaking back in. I have Raji with me, Newcastle fan. All these guys are just coming in today because their teams did well or their teams won. And then, of course, you can see from the look on his face and the way he's holding his jaw, we have Trudy, Manchester United fan. So welcome, guys. Welcome, viewers. Welcome, everyone. Yeah. Before we dive in, I'd like to remind you about our handles on Facebook and YouTube. We are Footy Fantasy, FOOTIE Fantasy. On Twitter, it's a little different. It's Footy AD Fantasy. That's FOOTIEA for Alpha, D for Delta Fantasy. So let's go. Let's dive in. We are starting with Newcastle Man City review. Raji, I'll let you take the mic on that one.
All right. Well, my perennial Newcastle appearance on this channel, even though we're coming top 6, top 7 every season now. I think that this season has been quite a mix, honestly, for a Newcastle fan. And I think that it started off in the summer transfer window with the Amanda Staveley leaving, and it has rolled on till now with the CEO of Manchester United, of Newcastle United, Darren Hills, being diagnosed with blood cancer, and he's stepping down. And this happened this week. So there's been a tumultuous. It's been tumultuous for Newcastle, and it's kind of reflected in the way they've played. We've picked up the points, but we've not played very well. We didn't play very well against Southampton. We didn't play very well against Fulham. But somehow, when we played against Manchester City, it was the most coherent version of football Newcastle has played this season. We started to press again. We started to attack the players, and we didn't sit back like Arsenal and let Manchester United play in front of our Manchester City play in front of our box. We even had better goal chances than Manchester City, and honestly, we should have won that game. Longstaff missed that shot that could have gone in, and you would have hoped that it would have been someone like Bruno who was there to shoot that ball in, because that we could have gotten a better chance of that going in. But ultimately, 1-1 is a good score, and I think everybody would be happy to get a draw in Manchester City. And I think that there's hope for an improved season. There's not really much I can say, much more I can add to the team. Manchester City was missing some key players who could have been game changers. De Bruyne was out, Roger was out. So Newcastle had the chance to control the midfield, and we did. But Manchester City's attack is still relentless. And the way Guardiola set up was a 4-3-3 to kind of match us initially. But they have better players than we do, and we fight and we play with heart. So it was a good return. Disappointed we didn't win. We've still not been able to beat them in the Premier League, but we're getting there. What do you guys think?
Um, Steven, let's start with the happy guys first. So, Steven, let's go. Let's go to
I'm
you,
always
Steven.
happy, man. I'm always happy. It's all good.
Yeah, right. Hold on. Let me tell you what someone asked so that you can see that you're not always happy. Someone
I'm
left a
always happy.
comment. Ayo left a comment, said, "Where was Steven 2 weeks ago after the North London Derby?" You don't have to answer that question, but you get the vibe.
Is Steven a Tottenham fan?
Yeah, he's a sports
Did he,
fan.
did he, sh- did he show up when we played Newcastle?
Nah, Steven hasn't been here in a
I
long
think
time.
I like this, man. Y'all hit me with the rhetoric questions. Right? You just want to throw your question in, and you don't even want my response. I have a lot to say, man, but I've been saving it. I've been saving it. I don't want to be speaking all the time because if I keep coming on the show, I get too familiar. People get tired of my voice, so I'm trying to save it and keep a new face, new voice every time. So once in
Fair
a while,
enough.
I pop up. That's all. But
I'm glad for your celebrity.
hey, you say that, man. You say that. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. I never say that about myself, but I appreciate it. About Newcastle, since we're still on Newcastle, the thing is, to be totally honest, full disclosure, like it's been really tough for me to watch full games ever since I started coaching because my games are on weekends, so it's really tough for me. I'm watching mostly highlights, so it'll be kind of ill of me to just come and like give an analysis on the game that I didn't see, the Newcastle game. So I did see from the highlights and the stats that Man City had most of the possession as you would expect. And one thing that was missing for me is like I think you guys played it was Gordon as a center forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So I really want to hear from you guys how you feel about his performance up there because that was different. I think you have Murphy, Gordon, and Barnes.
Yes.
And yeah, so I don't see Gordon as a center forward, especially with the way Man City's defense is. It's actually tough the way they set up with Guardiola, Ruben, whoever they have, whether it's Ake or Akanji.
Stones. Wow,
Yeah, Akanji.
So
I'm curious to see how Gordon dealt with that game. Apart from
I'm gonna say that the reason why Isak wasn't playing was because of his injury. He has broken his toe. We have a standard striker, Osula, but he's still young. I don't think this would have been a good game to start him. But I would say that Gordon played like a winger in the striker position. While he doesn't have the strength to play with any of those defenders you mentioned, he has the speed. And the reason why we even scored the goal was because of that. I think literally the commentator was literally talking about Gordon like 1 minute before he got the penalty because he was saying like Gordon is not playing like a traditional striker, but what Manchester City has to be wary about was his speed. And within like 45 seconds after making that statement, Gordon took off and Edison took him down. So Gordon is a very smart player. He can play in that position, but I don't think it's a natural fit for him. He would be better off coming in from the sides and going into that as an inside forward rather than like a center forward or a striker. So we have to make do with what we have, and he did a good job yesterday. So not much can what you would want from your striker is to score, right? So and he's doing that.
Yeah. It
apart
was
from
Go ahead.
up front, I find Newcastle's midfield. I know they're underperforming a little bit this season, but I find them really tough to play, especially when we played them. When they brought Tonali in, I think regardless of what's happening now, they're still introducing Tonali into that midfield with Joe Linton, and I think it's going to be strong when he settles down. I think when we played y'all, he came in, and then soon after he came in, they found some space. They found some space and then played a ball behind our back line. So I have high hopes for Tonali in that midfield.
I think what Tonali brings to the Newcastle midfield is that quick and speedy decision making. So Bruno is technical. He's also relentless. Joe Linton is physical, but he can pass the ball. But Tonali is clinical, and he's a maestro. So you have a balance of three physical players in the midfield, with each producing different things. The problem this season so far is that it hasn't gelled well, and I think people are still trying to get to grips with how that whole midfield is going to play out. So, generally speaking, I think there's a lot of high hopes about how that midfield is going to be. On paper, it's the most, it's quite significantly strong, but you really have to have people in front who are moving to kind of make it all work. Otherwise, it becomes a problem. What we don't have in all three players is a defensive-minded midfielder. Bruno wants to go forward, Tonali wants to go forward, and Joelinton wants to go forward. Don't forget, Joelinton was a striker before. So they always float into the box. And one of the things that always happens with Newcastle is that we push forward and then we disconnect from the defense, and then teams play through that, and then all of a sudden you're one-on-one with the defense. So they need to fix that problem for Newcastle this season and try to.
On that point, though, I agree with what you're saying about your midfielders. They all seem like defensive midfielders to me that want to attack.
They're not pure attacking midfielders.
Yeah,
exactly. But then it seems like a pattern to me, because y'all have been kind of looking for this kind of player for years. Even when you had the Longstaff, Sean Longstaff, same kind of player. Matthew Longstaff, same kind of player. You want that constant, energetic defensive player that fulfills both roles. And then you want to pair them. And I think Newcastle has been trying to do that for, 6 or 7 years now?
Yeah. I mean, that's how Eddie Howe wants to play. I think what you're talking about is the fact that Bruno came in from Lyon as a defensive midfielder. Tonali was seen before he joined Newcastle as a defensive midfielder. And Joe Linton was a striker, so he doesn't count. Longstaff was somewhat like a defensive midfielder who can pass the ball. But the thing about it is, when you're playing in Eddie Howe's style, and it's one of the reasons why some of these players take a long time to jump in, what they want to see is somebody just going bounding forward and creating opportunities in there. That's the reason why all of a sudden you see Joe Linton in the box. All of a sudden you see Bruno in the box. All of a sudden you see Tonali in the box. They're very attacking minded, and that's what happens with Newcastle. The problem with Newcastle right now is we don't have the ball playing defenders that can help this scenario. We have Shah, right? Shah is a ball playing defender, and if you noticed, one of the attempts last year was yesterday, where he was playing as a striker when they crossed the ball, and he headed the ball and the keeper hit the ball out. So he wants a dynamic team where everybody's moving around, and what we're lacking right now is pace and a ball playing defender. That was what they were trying to get with Gehi throughout the summer. They wanted somebody who could do that. And that's what we have with Sven Botman, who is injured also. So if we have the full force and we have the whole dynamic team working together, you could see Newcastle pushing forward with all 11 players, and they will have a ball-playing sweeper keeper who can just stand and make sure that things don't get out of hand. So that's the basic idea of where Newcastle wants to go.
Okay, all right. Let's pause, because I'll just segue into the next topic, expectations for Newcastle, because we've gone from talking about the Newcastle game. I think Raji rounded that game up and analyzed it well. There doesn't seem to be much argument with anything he said. But before we talk about that, I'm going to take some comments. There's a lot of comments about you on a chair. Dada says honor. Like,
I'm just reading that.
Oga Kwame says all of a sudden Steven shows up, man, looking like young Poste Koglu. Shout out to you, though. Looking like a skinny Robbie Lyle.
Who's even seen a young Poster Glue? Nobody knows what that man looked like.
Well, he's probably saying that possibly was skinny when he was young. Dada says, Trudy, why is Trudy looking like a Newcastle fan?
No, they're all welcome. They're all welcome.
Then it says, Soji says, Raji's name is Matcha Master. Man, I'm out. Linger, of course, says laugh out loud. I think Linger is referring to Manchester United here. We know. Whatever. And then Ogapame says, and Sky is a goal scoring defender too. Yeah, fair enough. So the Trudy doesn't feel left out. Trudy, what do you think, as an outsider looking in, are reasonable expectations for Newcastle this season?
Compared to last season, I'm being completely transparent. I don't see them surpassing what they did last season, and of course, for some of the things that I guess Raji mentioned, not just that, I also think that, from my own view, from the games I've watched, and I feel like what's his name, Botman, is really missed, but I personally feel like they're doing more than they. I feel like they need to go back to what a lot of the things that brought them success last season. Yes, Botman is missing. A lot of passing from the back is missing, and a lot of that bit of organization from the back is missing. But they were one thing I remember about them was a very good transition team last season. They can contain, and what they call it, they burst out there and they can hit you on the breaks, they can hit you on the counter. I see a lot of the likes of Joe Linton, the likes of even Tonali, who I've been watching Tonali since Milan days. Like, that man was known for holding midfield. Like, there's a DM. Yes, occasionally he'll make the box to box moves, but he sits. He's a holding DM, and it's, for me, it's like, I personally think stick to what a lot of the things that brought you success last season. More like that transition football, play out the back quickly, get out there, sit back, hold. You don't necessarily need to start playing that whole controlling the game. In some cases, the smaller teams, they can play that way, they can control the game and whatnot. But even the game against City yesterday, I think they were playing great transition football. It was part of that transition that caused the run from Gordon from the midfielder. He ran that there and they got the penalty. And I feel like a lot of that has been missing from their previous games. And I think going to that can just stick it to what you let the 3-man midfield sit back. I'm not sure you just sit back, but I don't think they need to be doing what they're doing right now in terms of like trying to control games against certain teams and whatnot. And I think that is one thing that's missing. And secondly, I think I'll mention, of course it's still there, but it's not quite the same per se, because that was another scary component of their game last season too, which is also missing. That one is neither here nor there. It's not quite the same, not necessarily missing per se, but I think they'll still figure it out. They'll get things together, but considering what I'm seeing right now, I will be shocked if they surpass what they did last season.
Well, surpassing what they did last season would be finishing
7th.
in the top 6, finishing, qualifying for Europa League.
Right. So I think they'll be around that range, is my point.
Last season was a downer because the previous season they finished 4th and then they went down. So you think they're going to be the same level or lower? That's what you...
The same level, yes.
I feel that's fair. From my own perspective, I think that's a fair analysis in the sense that there are 5 or 6 teams that are good or that are about as good as Newcastle or better. We can clearly state that City, Liverpool, and Arsenal are definitely better than Newcastle.
Yeah.
Chelsea looks like a team that is actually better than what people... the sum of their parts now is coming out to be better than, they're wishy-washy. Yes, I can see what Raji said. I just see that wishy-washy. But if they can click, they look like a good team. So between, I think,
Villa doesn't fall into that. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Villa, Chelsea, Newcastle, and Spurs are the best of the rest. Apart from those, because I think Manchester United are the worst of that bunch, so I put them beyond those other teams. But Villa is the best of that bunch, and then the rest somewhere in between. Currently, that's what I see. So fair enough, but I still think Newcastle, if they push, can make fifth.
Okay.
They can be more because Spurs are not a very consistent team. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
the Chelsea are not a very consistent team. But yeah, of course,
It's gonna be new.
Steven is laughing. But if you want to look at it critically, Spurs have won only 3 games in the past 13 games. There was a time they won only 2 games in 11 before they won. I think they won their last 2 games. They've been, they've been basically on that like relegation form since like April of last season. They've not been that good. Chelsea are wishy-washy. Manchester United are terrible. So I think Newcastle can be better than the rest of them. I think Aston Villa have a clear edge. That's what I feel personally. So my expectations for Newcastle is somewhere between fifth and sixth. That's a fair expectation from my own angle. I mean, Raji, you're the Newcastle fan.
I'm
What do you?
surprised. You also didn't mention Brighton.
Brighton.
No. Brighton
You-
are one of those teams that start well, and for the past few seasons they start well and they end up 8-9.
So, in the last 5 games that Brighton has played, they've only won 1 game and drawn 3. They're not even playing as well as they did last season. So, I'm not entirely sure why Brighton would be included in this conversation. They lost terribly to Chelsea yesterday. I watched that game because I thought that would be the game to watch.
That was an
But
outlier.
it was just watching how the defenders were letting the ball go. And I was watching that game going, Newcastle will destroy this team. This is exactly what Newcastle
But-
wants.
Sorry, but that game we do know that game was a clear outlier. Like there was just
I mean,
that's not how they have played all season.
it's an outlier, but it
which is the
shows a
game?
weakness.
Raji, let me ask a quick question. So, which is the game that then is not an outlier? Because they played Arsenal and they drew Arsenal.
Right.
Okay, is that game not the outlier? Because this same team played Ipswich at home and couldn't score. It was a 0-0 game. They played
Right.
Nottingham Forest at home and couldn't win. It was a
Mhm.
2-2 game. So
Right.
that's what I'm saying about Brighton. They can be like this. They are one of those teams that they get a good matchup against a big team and they play well against them. Then
Right.
sometimes against a team they should beat, they don't play well. It's been like that for them for the past few seasons. It's probably why the last manager left, because he felt he had hit his ceiling and he wasn't going to take that team further, and so he left. That's what I feel about Brighton.
And the games against Ipswich and the games against Nottingham are
Forest.
the ones that you really you need to be winning.
Yes.
So,
I mean,
Okay, that's-
it's the reason why I
They
say
can't beat
Manchester
them.
United are not a good team, because Manchester United won't. You're not sure they'll beat Ipswich or Nottingham
Yeah.
Forest. I'm just.
I mean,
I was just laughing
if we
because
just tied with Villa
I
today
think-
too, so
I think, it was retired today. I think Spurs do get bound with this inconsistent tag. But if you look over the last 10, 15 years of the Premiership, we have been pretty consistently in the top 6 of the Premiership, most of the time in the top 4. So now you could argue about that, but arguably top 6. So consistently, we're there. Now, if we talk about your comment about Brighton, I think Brighton is a really inconsistent team in the Premiership. You don't know what Brighton team is going to show up any day. Like they wake up today, they'll beat Man U, then they'll go tie against Ipswich, like you said. Then they lose to Chelsea forward. Like it's just so wild. Sometimes you're not even sure it's inconsistent on the level of results. Sometimes even the lineup. Sometimes they'll just have Lamptey come back out of nowhere. Or they had these Ivory Coast wingers that they had. And then yesterday, they weren't even in the game. They had some other 2 wingers. Are you guys with me? Like they just have some players just show up from somewhere. They're always doing so much good work on their scouting. So they do good work on scouting, bringing in new players. But the team is just inconsistent from the start of the season to the end.
I think that is
It's
also
quite an interesting team, man, Brighton. It's one that needs to be studied, actually.
I think that the fact that they've changed their manager to Fabian Husela is not helping this scenario. I think what they've done is they've changed their system compared to how they played last season and the season before, uh, because their system is different right now. They're trying to be more ball possession and getting the ball fast to the strikers, and that was kind of what killed them yesterday. Um, I don't think. I think that they're still going to be good, but I think that they're going to see a regression. Now, on the season expectation for Newcastle, I want everyone. I know that everybody is trying to say like Newcastle is going to do worse. Newcastle is going to do worse, which is
I
fine.
didn't say
I think
that.
it's good.
Not everybody. Not everybody.
They're going to be
I said
the
they'll do
same or
better.
lower. I go on.
I
I'm
said
going
they'll
to
do
say that
better.
you think they'll do better. Okay, cool.
I said fifth, so better.
Fifth, fair enough. That's fair enough. I think that Newcastle will do better. I think one of the problems they had. I think
Please,
for
please,
me,
please. Sorry. Don't mind my facial expression. I'm seeing the live comments, and the live comments are bad. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My facial comments. It's just
so
like, let me take those comments, right? Let me pause you and take these comments because
I love the comments, man. I love the comments, bro.
yeah, the comments are wicked. So just sorry, Raji. Okay, let me start from the top. It goes, what happened to Ten Hag team, guys? Oh God! Like I don't know
Who
why
meant
I
that?
always draw the short stick of hosting when this results happen. Conference league qualification sounds like a reasonable expectation for Newcastle.
is that not a Ten Hag member?
I said, and they need to keep hold of Eddie Howe too. You can't lose him to the three kittens.
He said
and
the
then,
three.
and that was Oga Kwame that said that. Then you have
Mm.
Karim Jones said, "Oh, more you must be proud of your boys today." Who is it? I
Yeah,
mean, this is
yeah.
a double and trendy comment because he could be trolling me, or he could be talking about you, Raji. I think Karim Jones is trolling me. I think he's
No, I think
trolling
it's
me.
due.
Yeah.
No, he's
Yeah,
talking to me. He's talking to
he's
me. He
talking
said,
to
"Oh
you.
no."
Oh no. Oh no. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
thought he said oh no. He said oh no. Yeah.
yeah,
Then
Kareem.
Ayodele says Brighton needs to be investigated. They probably manufacture kids in a lab. And then EJ says not on or popping up because Spurs won.
Wow.
So I say everybody's shocked you're here today on the show, but we all know why you're here. So
EJ,
we'll
it's
give
been
you
a
that.
long
We'll give you
time.
that.
It's been a long
Raji,
time.
please continue. Sorry for the interruption. Please
No,
continue.
no problem. I think, like I said, I think that Newcastle is going to finish better. Is going to do much better than where everybody thinks. Right now, one of the things that you have to understand is the issues that we had last season were issues of injury, and some of them are popping up right now with the the
Isaac
the
injury.
Isaac injury, Callum Wilson injury. They still niggle. But the problem last season was that we're playing so many games that by December we only had 13 players in the squad.
Wow.
And in one of the games we had to have four left backs, and we still beat Manchester United. Um, so it's interesting to see where we are right now. One of the things that they did was they brought in a fitness coach that is supposed to monitor Eddie Howe. And that could account for why we started to play differently at the very beginning of the season. Previously, there was no overhead to keep track of that. And we were playing intensity in almost every single game. But if you noticed in this season, we've been we've been significantly more deliberate about when we do the intensity. And the games where we don't, we have pockets of time where we do it. I think that the team is still trying to get up to speed on that style of play. It's actually a mixture of how we played in the first season and how we played in the second season under Eddie Howe. In the first season, we were defensively strong, and I think you guys remember all the conversations where Newcastle was not conceding goals at least till October or something. And the next season, we were very fluent in the attacking. This season, we're still scoring goals. We score goals in every game, but we're not scoring as many goals as we are. but we're not losing as many games as we were. But we're also conceding some goals. So it's like a balance of season 1 and season 2. In December, we're going to get some players back. We're going to get Sven Botman. We're going to get some other new players. And I think in January, they already started to line up a number of players. We've signed a youngster from Greece or from somewhere. I was reading that yesterday. And I think that Newcastle is going to spend in January. So depending on where we are, we could be going for significantly better players or players that will bolster the squad to achieve a certain goal. I think that you shouldn't write Newcastle off the top 4. I think that we're going to play very well till December. And after December, they're going to look to strengthen the squad for the possibility of getting into the Champions League.
Okay, so let me ask you for too long, don't read summary. What position will you finish? Yes.
If you're going to ask me too long, don't read, I'll probably say 5th.
5th. Fair enough. That's what I said. That's what I think. I think Newcastle will end up just short of the top 4. Newcastle have an advantage that most people are missing, and that is they do not have European commitments. Right? Am I correct?
But that has problems too. The team that has European commitments, they become a lot more cohesive in the style of play, because they face multiple teams who have different style, and they try to break those. They get experience making sure that their style works, but they may have the fatigue problem. But when you think about it truly, Arsenal have been playing European League. They're still second every season. Manchester City has been playing Europe. They're still first every season. It's not fatigue that kills. It's inexperience, plus the fact that you don't have a deep enough squad. So I think that the Europe is not going to be a mitigating factor overall.
Okay. Trudy, you wanted to say something?
As far as that, I definitely disagree with. I believe fatigue is a major thing. I think Arsenal last season, they're one of the most lucky squad in terms of injuries per se. Like if you look at Arsenal's injury list, like compared to any other team last season. Now that injuries are starting being a thing, like losing Odegaard for this period, like Arsenal against big teams like Arsenal, they're already finding it a little bit tricky in terms of creation and things like that. And I mean, most of the last game, they relied on their set piece, which is working for them. They're making those adjustments, but fatigue is indeed a thing, and especially when key players get removed from the equation. I personally feel, I know I didn't talk about the City and the Newcastle game, but I think one of the most defining fact that most people are not mentioning is just the fact that Rodri was missing yesterday. Again, take nothing away from Newcastle. They played a great game yesterday. But just watching City yesterday without a Rodri, and the difficulty with them coming out the back, the difficulty with them having to play their regular game yesterday. Forget De Bruyne, for instance. Of course, De Bruyne is a big miss, but missing Rodri in that middle, I personally think was more than a defining factor, more than anything.
I think I called it. I called it out.
Yeah, he called it out.
I did say that Rodri was missing and all of that stuff. But I'm going to tell you this: if fatigue was such a big issue, then teams that play the most games every season would not be consistently finishing in the top. Then we wouldn't be having Manchester City winning top 4. We wouldn't be having Real Madrid being and Barcelona being in the top 2 every single season. I think it's more of depth than
yes. But fatigue is indeed a thing. But again, depth. My point was that, like, if a player, there's significant kind of players that leave. Odegaard for an Arsenal, let them mess around and maybe lose a Saliba. It's going to be a very, very different season for them. They're key players that, if fatigue does hit and the wrong players do get hit, they're going to have serious problems. Is my point in fatigue. And again, depth does a great deal. Makes me want to even think maybe Chelsea did actually see the light. Who knows, with all the madness that's been going on, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, Chelsea they have some mad depths in Chelsea, but before we move on, because
before we go, I have a quick question. How long is Odegaard out?
I know
I
it's
think
for a
he's
few
out.
months. In December? Is it? He has a few months.
So okay, so he's not going to be around in November 2nd when Newcastle plays them.
Hey,
No, that's what you were
I'll give
just
you guys
checking.
Yeah, I'm just
a
checking
hint.
that real quick, man,
No,
because I want
Odegaard is going to be back in October.
in
He's still going
October.
to need a few games though, but still.
Yeah,
All right.
he's going to be back in October. I just checked.
So the Arsenal fans won't have an excuse when we beat them. All right, cool.
This guy's put the marker on. So he's put the marker on. We'll mark that. I like that. Okay, let me take some comments quickly. Let me take some comments quickly. Ayodele says Newcastle up and down transition intense style will be their undoing, but they could finish in Europa due to no Euro. Fair enough. So fifth or
I
sixth.
think they've reduced the intensity of their intensity. They've reduced the intensity significantly this season.
Yeah. Newcastle, Kareem Jones says Newcastle are the king of the dark arts.
And Arsenal is trying to learn from us.
Arsenal are the king of the dark arts. Arsenal are like Kareem Jones saying that he must be trolling because he's an Arsenal fan. Arsenal are the king of the dark arts. I'll argue this anywhere.
No, I think Newcastle is. I want that crown. I want that crown.
You guys are not. You guys are not dirty.
I mean, you saw what we did to one player the other day, where Jolinton grabbed the keeper by the neck and slammed him on the ground, and the referee just let him go. Don't mess around with Newcastle boys. Those guys are dangerous.
I think if I may make one final comment on Newcastle, I think I was asking about that high intensity midfield because to me, from the outside, it seems like a club top-down strategy that hasn't really been working. I've seen it for a couple of years, and I think you finished like 12th, 11th. One season you got 4th, and then 7th, and it's kind of back. I feel like that will work as much as the opposition teams play into your hands. Like if you play teams that also play a high-risk game, you'll probably get the better of them. Like when Spurs do stupid things, like play very high line.
So,
but in order for you to really succeed and get to Europe to be top 4 or top 5, you need a goal-scoring midfielder. At the end of the day, football is simple. Premiership is simple. You cannot really succeed without a good goal contribution from the midfield. And of all those 3 or 5 midfielders you have, none of them can really contribute with goals. I think one season Joe Linton surprised everybody and scored a bunch of goals. If my memory is right.
And Joe Linton was out injured last season for a long time.
But as long as you don't have a goal scoring midfielder out of all that intensity stuff, it's not going to work.
I think we do have a goal scoring midfield, but
In who?
I think we do.
In who?
In Willock, in
fans.
We have Bruno.
No, the wingers are different. Wingers are different for sure. You have good
midfielder for Newcastle.
wingers.
Willock is a midfielder for
Who
Newcastle.
plays as a midfielder?
Gordon is a striker. He scores a lot of goals. Barnes scores a lot of goals. And
he's referring to the midfield 3, right?
I know. I mean, Bruno scores goals every once in a while. Tonali doesn't really score, but we haven't really seen Tonali long. I want to make a quick clarification. Newcastle has only been playing this intensity style for 3 years since Eddie Howe joined. 2 years technically, because when he first joined, we were playing counter-attack, dark arts. Then the second season, we were playing intensity games. The third season, we were playing all-out attack with some intensity, but that created issues. And this season, he's doing a mixture of both. So it's not as intense as it used to be, but it's also not sitting back entirely like the first season and absorbing all the attack. So he's trying to create something. So I get the point you're trying to make. I think that one of the things that, like I said, Joe Linton, even in this season, he's scored and he's contributed to goals this season. I think that as the season wears on, we're going to see more midfielders score. Newcastle has not been scoring many goals this season. Let's get that. We've not scored many goals, but we've scored more than Manchester United. So we're good.
That's not a safe benchmark. Just that's not a good benchmark, but carry on.
Oh man,
it's part of it.
This guy is always blazing, man.
Next time, next time they're doing the schedule for this, I will make sure I'm hosting on the day Manchester United are not playing. Any weekend Manchester United are not playing, which is never. So I'll take those 3 comments and then we'll move on. There's a comment from Ayo here. It says, I don't think it's only luck. That's Arsenal and City. Their style of play means that they rest their muscles a lot and don't have to run back and forth a lot. Yeah, they hold on to the ball a lot. EJ says he'll be back soon. She's talking about Odegaard. And then EJ also says we're learning from Newcastle. She's basically talking about the dark arts. Yeah.
Because so when they were talking about Newcastle always sitting back and wasting time, now the Arsenal is doing it. All of us can now assume that it's good football. It's Arsenal fans, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. But go on.
Let's move on to I've been postponing this for too long, but I can't get away from it. Trudy, do you want to start? We want to talk about Manchester United versus Spurs.
I'd rather someone else start. Let me pick you off and pick out your statements.
Do you want me to start? I can start.
No, please don't.
No. I'll be fair.
No, please let me go.
Okay, go, please. Yes.
I'll be fair.
Go ahead.
When Ten Hag first joined, I said he was an arrogant person. I was an arrogant human being, and I posted it in the channel that I can look forward to Newcastle leading Manchester United overall. The problem is this: it was the truth. He's still an arrogant person, and he doesn't want to change his style. The most glaring issue that Manchester United has is number one. Everybody has been talking about Newcastle's high-intensity game. No, Manchester United has a lack of intensity in the way they play. There is a lack of urgency of what's going on the field. Rashford could be standing in the front line. The ball, they could lose control of the ball and it would just start to walk back instead of running back to try to stop them from scoring or something along those lines. And then what happens is the midfield is lower intensity. The back is trying to connect with the midfield, and the attack is just standing. So at some point, when the opponent gets the ball, they're all rushing forward. They do a cutback. They pass to the middle of the box. The whole defense has moved forward. There's now a lot of space for the midfield of the other team to score, and they just kick the ball into the back of the net. We've seen that happen so many times. And, they'll talk to Ten Hag. Hey, Ten Hag, what's going on about this? Can you try to solve this problem? And the guy will be like, I don't see anything there. I don't see any problem there. And because he's not even trying to solve that problem, they will continue to repeat the same thing over and over and over again. There's a lack of intensity with Manchester United. There's a lack of discipline every once in a while. I mean, that's what happened today. And there's a lack of leadership on the field. Honestly, Bruno is a problem. And every single game, it seems like you guys are regressing. You're regressing. You guys don't create chances. And you guys don't have. I mean, Manchester United fans, they can frown all they want. You can look like, oh my God, this is really sad. But this is the truth, man. The sooner you guys realize this, the better it becomes for you. I don't know how long Ten Hag is going to be at Manchester United, but I've penciled December 29th. You guys should keep him till December 29th before you make any harsh decisions. Leave him there because they want to play against this Manchester United team. I beg you. All right.
I love it.
Does anybody have anything else to say?
I mean, Judy should say something. He was shaking his head like as if I was lying.
Judy, you go, then I'll go.
Now, I'll touch some of his points. One, I personally don't think is an intensity. I do agree Ten Hag is indeed stubborn. I think most most successful coaches actually have a good amount of stubbornness in them, which, I mean, I read most coaches should have a certain healthy amount of stubbornness, but I do agree ETH is indeed stubborn. I wouldn't call it intensity because, I mean, for a game like this, it would look like that. Oh, they seem like they're a step behind Spurs and things like that. And same with the Liverpool. We tend to struggle against those top teams, right? If you look at the game against Crystal Palace, look at the game against FC20, look at the games against Fulham. Maybe not so much Fulham, but maybe Palace and 20 game. Like we controlled that game. We just didn't have that edge to finish off. Anybody that watched the Palace game will tell you the truth. Like we controlled that game. We just didn't have the edge to finish it off. And inadvertently almost lost it because of loose last minute chances, which happens. My problem with our coaching, my problem with our situation is stubbornness, where we stick to that same style of play where we're trying to want to play out that back and do what we need to do. A team like Spurs easily in the EPL right now, they're the most highest pressing team in the EPL. In terms of they risk it all entirely, it's about 8 players that is pressing as hard. They only play with the two defenders, which is Van der Ven and whatever his name is,
Romero.
Argentine. Yeah, both of them back there. He relies on their speed, their recovery speed, and whatnot in case of any ball that goes through the line. Right? You saw that against their Thursday game against Karabag. Even though they got the red card, there's so many times that team broke the line, but they just didn't have enough quality to finish off. If you have pace and you can go that thing, you can break that line. By all means, you're going to break that team properly, because a coach like Postecoglou would stick to his guns till he dies. He will stick to that high line forever. Again, they rely on that recovery pace and stuff like that. So I was expecting, when I saw the lineup, I got a little excited. I'm like, okay, I'll rather have a Garnacho there rather than Ahmad, because I know that Garnacho can run onto the ball. He can actually adapt better to a through ball than an Ahmad who wants that ball to his feet to do something with the ball. So I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe he actually gets the picture. We're onto something. I actually had hope. But then when I started seeing the play and I was trying to pass out the back, so again, it looks like intensity, but it's like we just didn't have enough quality to do what we thought we have always been doing with every other team, which we had no business doing in that situation. We could have tried it for the first few minutes. In the first 9 minutes, you saw what was happening. The first goal happened. They had other 2 chances that were almost one-on-one against, thank God for Onana, saved those 2 chances. The Madison chance and the Brennan Johnson that hit the bar. You saw these things happening, and Werner chance again. You saw these things happen in the first 10 minutes, 12 minutes. Why don't we adjust our play in terms of let's sit back, soak in the pressure, and try to play on transition. We never make adjustments during the game, and it's one of my. I've been complaining about this since last season, since the season before. Like it's been glaring. It's almost like we don't study the other team. We don't look at the team sheet. We don't look at what the other team is trying to do. We just come out there. Let's play our style. Let's play our style and just adapt to whatever
I
they
mean,
give us.
and that only works if you are Man City, who can impose your style on any team.
Yeah, but even Man City they adjusted against Newcastle, actually. Jokingly enough, they first started with the two. Lewis was coming into that midfield with what's his name? Kovacic, and they're playing a good game. They realized, look, these guys are coming out there, they're playing that, they're not playing as high, they're not playing that high of a press. You know what? Let's adjust this thing. Kovacic is Lewis, this person is sitting down, let's push these guys. Bernardo Silva comes in to help again in the middle. They make certain adjustments, they move the game, Pep makes so many adjustments during the game. Like sometimes I think he overthinks it. But my own is like look at what the other team is doing. Yes, you can adapt to a game, but at the same time, you should prepare your team to the point where, like, look, if this team is playing like this, or if this is not working, we have to scrap and do something else. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting, even if you're doing the same thing and it's not working in attack, at the very least, let's cut out what has been causing us a problem, which is we play the ball to an Ugarte, to somebody holds the ball from the back, and we're trying to play that ball down that middle, which is our bread and butter. You do that again, or we go to the fullback and we try to come to that middle so he can find something to happen. You're doing that again. I think Ugarte got dispossessed from the ball like 2-3 times. I mean, that's probably what caused one of the goals. You see those things happen a couple of times. Why are we still doing it? Why? Like it's if we're gonna do it, okay, maybe bring an extra player in the middle, or just not do it.
Okay.
Why do we keep doing it and hoping for the
I
best?
think I'm going to come in here and say something, right? There's a pertinent thing in everything you said. Everything you said from the beginning to the end comes down to one thing. Well, I'll put it to 2 points. One, why do we look like we don't study the teams we are playing against?
Yeah.
One. Two, why do we not adjust in game? Why do we keep trying to do the same things over and over again? Because if you take this game against Spurs, take it to the last game against Spurs, the one they won last season, take it to that 3-0 win Newcastle beat us last season, take it to the Arsenal game, take it to the Brighton game, take it to any game last season. And a matter of fact, take it up to the previous season. You'll find out that there's one pattern that has been going on, is that this coach is either out of his depth or he just refuses to adapt. I once said on this podcast that the Premier League is one of those leagues where you have to adapt or you die. This man doesn't want to adapt. He refuses to make little adjustments. For example, a friend of mine watched one game. I think it was the Carabao Cup game, that League Cup game, and he goes, Ugarte Casemiro, that's a very solid combo to play in front of your defense. Why don't you try and play solid some games and then open up in games where you should open up? But try and play, deploy two defensive midfielders. Try it. Because you have the two of them. And the big problem Casemiro has had was he's been left alone to cover the back and the midfield. So now extra cover and Casemiro can pick a pass. Someone was just suggesting that this coach wouldn't try that. What he would do is he would come. Well, hold on, I'll finish now. He'll come to the next game and do what? He'll play Ugarte and Ericsson as a defensive midfielder. Then Ericsson tires out, gets bullied off the ball. So basically, this guy just comes and I see some of his lineups and I go, this man has gone crazy. So I think that man is just too arrogant. And he thinks he's what did I call it? He thinks he's Maldini, Pep Maldini. He's Eredivisie Maldini. That's what he thinks he is. His arrogance is better than his ability.
I mean, he just came out today. He just came out today and said that nobody's talking about sacking him. We've all decided that we're going to be in this together. And I was just like, this guy thinks that he's the one who controls the club, Anyway. But I want to talk about the intensity, because intensity is not only about if you're out of control. Intensity is also about when you're in control and trying to create something. The ability to push into half spaces, the ability to push into full spaces, the ability to create something out of nothing. And that's where Manchester United is lacking the most. What is the expectation? They pass the ball to Rashford. Rashford, because he can go direct, he moves the ball towards them, and then he tries to cross the ball inside the box so that Zerzi or somebody else can knock the ball in. Those things, all the teams are prepared for that. It's only when they start to do spectacular goals like that happened last season that teams are caught off guard with Manchester United. Because I don't like to hear when Manchester United players, fans come out and say they don't have quality. You guys have quality all over that squad. I hate hearing, because of the play. No, you have team. You have the team to be able to do all of those things. The question is, do you have the ability to? Do you have the right coaching? Do you have the tactics? Manchester United lose every single time because their teams are predictable. And even smaller teams can play against Manchester United now because they know exactly what to expect. How often will you be able to make a spectacular goal? If you can block 90% of the scenarios, there's a good chance you can stop Manchester United from winning. That's the reality of it.
So on Buchi's point, first of all, I think the Casemiro and the Ugarte thing is just simple. That's where he wants a proper DM, and he needs somebody that can carry the ball comfortably on their feet in that middle. Neither Casemiro or Ugarte is doing that. That's really just the simple reason why that happens. But to Raji's point on the thing that I agree wholeheartedly with the intensity part. I don't quite agree with the whole I agree that there's a predictability aspect of it, but even when I look at a City and stuff like that, like City predominantly the way they attack is building and stuff like that. We're almost doing the same thing where it's coming out from the middle. Either it's coming out from the middle or coming out from the flanks. Is going to the wide man. Bernardo Silva is on that right, Doku is on the left, or Grealish on our left. that wide man, when all the dust settles, he's always going to that wide man first.
It's not always the white man, though.
90,
It's not always the
a
white
good.
man.
I'm not. It's not saying it's not always, but I'm saying like when the dust settles, a good portion of their play.
But the thing about it also is that they have a significant amount of people that are around the box in scenarios like that.
Agreed with you, that part. I agree with you that they have a better control of it. I'm not saying that, but the thing about it is that more than likely it goes to that. It starts from that wide man. But Pep has been playing this thing since his Barca days. That's why he always emphasized on the length of the pitch. Everybody pinches that touchline. Something that even when Henri went to Barcelona, he complained about Pep's insisting that he always pinch that touchline. Of the touchline. And his Pep's game, like they always start from that flight most times. Then exactly what happens afterwards, where somebody drops it from deep, or they play 1-2 with the forward man, or whatever it is, that's a different case. But it usually builds on that. There's predictability there, but anything that happens from there is where you cannot just stop the situation, right? So again, I agree with the intensity part. I agree with also what Bucci said in terms of, I personally don't think it's even a personnel thing, trying something new. I don't even think it's a personnel thing. I just personally feel that we need to, it's just the style of what we are doing. During the game, it just seems that he does not study other teams. Like it's, you can see it's clear. Like it's
Judy, you don't study other teams during the game.
No.
You know what I mean? You do your homework before the game.
Exactly.
You kind of look at who are their key players, what do they like to do, what are their tendencies. Go and look at their last 50 games, what do they like to do. Okay, this is what they're going to try something that they've done in their lives. They're not just going to wake up and throw something new unless they have a bunch of new players. So I'm going to try this. This is how they might counter it. If they counter it this way, right? If they counter it this way, this is what I'm going to do. If I make it good, not I'm going to go and play one way, and if this doesn't work, I'm just going to change. And then the subs this man makes, the subs he also makes sometimes, you're going, what exactly are you trying to do? And then another thing he does is the man plays favorites. It's quite obvious. What I mean plays favorites is, if you are saying that you are benching some players, as he says, that players have to play, because these are kind of things he says, and then you keep playing Bruno Fernandes through bad patches. Like he's thinking for the whole season, and he plays 90 minutes. This was the same thing he did with Rashford last season. He played Rashford through his worst form until the guy got injured, and then that's when he subbed him. And you're going, okay, where is your courage as a manager? Because you said a manager has to be arrogant, but a manager also has to be arrogant and also has to be courageous. You have to have the balls to go out and do what you feel is right, and not sometimes being timid. Why I actually want to go back to this, I remember when we had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he was slaughtered for one thing. What they slaughtered him a lot for was they felt that he, at certain times of the season, key moments when he could have won a trophy, he kind of mellowed. He kind of got overawed by the the situation. The circumstances were too much for him to handle. It kind of feels the same way. And if we did not cut Ole Gunnar Solskjaer any slack, then I struggle to cut Ten Hag any slack. So to put it in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is this. Raji has said the problem is not the personnel. We can agree on that. We have good players in that team.
100%.
We have all agreed that there's a tactical issue with the team. We've all agreed that there's also an adaptability issue with the manager. So if the players are good, there are tactical issues, and there's an adaptability issue with the manager. Which do you think is easier to fix? Change the players or change the manager?
It's straightforward. Yeah, it's the manager.
Yeah. So, I mean, Steven, did I say anything strange here?
Yeah, you're not gonna get me to disagree on Ten Hag. I hate to criticize coaches because it's hard. It's even harder.
Before Steven finish, sorry. Postecoglou is just as stubborn, by the way, but carry on, though, by the way. I'm sure
but in different ways. For me, and we haven't really gotten to talk because I haven't been on the show, as you said.
Mhm.
But I think the Ronaldo saga, however people might want to hate on Ronaldo, but the Ronaldo saga showed me who Ten Hag was as a coach, and I just don't agree with it. I think he's one of those coaches that will make decisions based on off the field reasons, personality issues. He doesn't look just critically at the football. For Ronaldo, I think that was a case where he showed that he was a bit weak. He didn't want to have to handle Ronaldo on the team. And we can go into that more. You may, whether you disagree or not, I think the truth is just revealing itself continuously now. So
But
Can I address that too?
let me finish. I think before I even go to the game, it's something that I've discussed with Aya a little bit on this, but I think everybody should be looking at their team, especially before these big games. I would say this was a big game, even though both clubs are not in the top four. Just look at your team. There are a couple of things that you need in order to do well and win the Premier League. You need a 20-goal striker. Does your team have that? You need a center-back pair that's at the top of their game. I'm not saying they have to be known as world-class, but they're at the top of their game. You need a goal-scoring midfielder, or at least a midfielder that can contribute more than 10 goals in the season, guaranteed. And you need a top center defensive midfielder. I will put it to you that teams without these things, if you look back in the 20 years or whatever of the Premier League, if you don't have these things, you're not winning. The last thing you need is a coach that has won a professional league before. Okay? The coach has to have, every coach that has won the Premier League has won a professional league elsewhere. So sometimes we go at our teams, like you have to really look at your team and say, hey, do we have all this? And then let me set my expectations based on these things. For me, what I saw is, and I didn't watch the game. I didn't even see the Spurs game. But I was essentially looking at, there's something simple about Spurs under Postecoglou. We're going to play a high line, and we have a center back, Mickey van der Ven, that always wants to run up and join the attack because he's good in transition so he can get back quickly. You need to exploit that. Simple. If you want to beat us, just try to exploit that high line. It's going to happen. Like you said, Postecoglou is not going to switch off that. So Newcastle were very smart with the way they played us, especially in the second half. So I'm looking for Man United to do the same thing. Play off the wings. Try to catch us when our center backs are high, play a diagonal ball or ball behind. I just didn't see anything from them trying to do that, even from the lineup. Then we get to Ugarte. I think this was Ugarte's first full start against Tottenham.
No, he's
No,
underestimated.
he started against Spurs.
and he started
This
the
is
other one.
this
This
is
is
his
his
third game.
second. This is his second start, or third start
Are
actually.
you
Yeah.
sure?
Third
This
start,
is
'cause
his
he played-
third game. It's his third game for sure, but I don't think.
No,
He
not
started
the,
against
you,
FC
you're not
Twente.
counting the other competitions.
No. Come on.
No,
No,
he started,
okay.
he started with Palace, I believe.
He started with Palace.
Yeah, Ericsson, I believe, or somebody. Yeah, but he started in Palace, I believe.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. He needed to be more prepared for Tottenham. People underestimate Tottenham, especially we're a high energy team, man. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to bring in
I
somebody."
don't think you got it started against. He did not start against
I
Palace.
was surprised.
This is not his first start, that's for sure.
Yeah, he didn't start
That
against Palace.
In the
He
Premier
didn't-
League.
100% sure. Yeah, this is not his
Okay.
first start.
He
Okay,
started
okay.
against in the what's it called? He started against
20. He started 20.
the 7-0 game. Then he played against 20. So
Barty.
this is his first start in the Premier League.
This
Did
is
he start
first start in
Palace?
Premier. That's what I said. Yeah,
He didn't start against Palace.
he didn't start
It was
against
Maino
Palace.
and Ericsson.
Yeah,
Because I remember when I saw that lineup, I said the man has gone crazy.
because
I
I
remember
saw him
seeing
in the other game he won against. I guess you played Southampton, and you won that game. It was pretty easy. Let me not say easy, but you won that game 3-4. But they chose this game for him to have his first start. Now, okay, so that's one thing. The lineup. I just thought he would struggle, just straight up looking at him because I don't know him as a top defensive midfielder. I think he's played in Portugal and then played one season in PSG. So I don't know him as a top defensive midfielder. And y'all needed that so badly because Casemiro's having a tough time. He's come to the Premier League at the end of his career, which is a tough thing to do. Yeah, it's at the end of his career. So
Manchester United bought him, though. That's
true. They bought him, but the only people that can,
32 end of his career. That's how you guys feel.
This is the end.
Yes.
What are you trying to
Come
say?
on, his legs are gone.
But you never.
How old is Casemiro? This is the end of his career. The last years of his career are going to be now.
Yeah, Casemiro's games has never been about his legs, though.
No, forget about legs. I'm just telling you. Come on, man. How can you argue with
It's always about legs in the Premiership, though.
Okay, how old is Casemiro? A 32-year-old.
It's always about legs in the Premiership.
Yeah.
How we say 32 is his last year? I mean, like, I don't think we bought him at his last.
I said the end of his career. This is the end of his career. Are you trying to say this is the middle of his career?
Last legs of his
Not
career.
his
It doesn't
middle,
mean that his career is going to end
when you
tomorrow.
say
Okay. Let's not argue on that
end
point.
of his, when you say end of his career,
He still has years, but he's going to be his final phase.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, of his major
Onoche, you
contract,
continue. Let me take this opportunity to take comments because there's a lot of comments here, and we've been listening so long we kind of missed them because people have been commenting on what you guys have been saying. Ogapame said Ten Hag should be locked in custody with El Chapo Guzman. He's a crack dealer who gets high on his own product. The guy is a criminal. EJ says Demi Lade, aka everybody can get it. Always so brutal. Dang. And then Ayo says, since we beat Newcastle in Carabao Cup in March 23, United have played 58 EPL games, 24 wins, 21 losses, 13 draws, scored 71 goals, conceded 74. Tells you all you need to know. Ogakwame goes, useless fraud. Eric Ten Hush Puppy, Eric Ten Laden. What a effing terrorist. Oh,
Eric Ten Laden.
Aya says keeping Ten Hag was an atrocious decision. I mean, you guys can see where the comments are going, but I'm going to read all of them. And then Ogakwame says, these two guys seem to be having a conversation. I thought I was vindicated when I won the battle against the homosexuals. I didn't know I'd have to fight another one against Eric Sexuals.
Wow.
You know, I feel scammed for ever trusting this guy. I backed him so much. I feel like a false prophet. That's why I shouldn't try and be a prophet. Ayo says this is my friend Judy, standing like
a false prophet. Just so
he's a big false prophet. I agree. This my friend Judy, sounding like a Ten Hag sexual, according to Ogakwame verbiage. EJ says Ronaldo may be a stretch because that man was moving mad, but I think handling of Sancho was odd. Then
Sancho was moving mad.
No, he wasn't moving mad.
Damn, based on Onon's criteria, Arsenal are never winning this. Okay, that's the last comment.
I thought we said no spoilers. Why is EJ putting spoilers here?
Okay.
And then one more comment just said, see Spurs fan, this Henry Bitoku, see Spurs fan beaming with life. Man, I don't have to tell you, that's an Arsenal fan.
Okay. Just to those are just overall points. Me just coming into the game is to tell you that my expectations of Spurs this season in a big game is based on these criteria, and then looking at Ugarte to change because this has been a big signing that's supposed to change their midfield or at least improve their midfield. I'm just not sold on him based on his history, his playing history, and say, okay, let's see what he does. I have to say in the game, it didn't help him or Man U that they got that red card. And that was pretty early in the game too. So now you got the red card. Let's see what changes that Ten Hag made. And I think
he pulled off a striker.
Mount and Casemiro.
Yeah, he pulled off bought off Mount, and then he bought off Maino for an injury, yes. I think, and then he pulled off Zexi.
Okay, if you say injury, that changed because when I looked at it on paper, I know that it's obvious to everybody. He's been trying to play Maino and whoever. That's basically been his plan in the midfield. Maino and Eriksen, Maino, Casemiro, because he likes.
No, it's Maino, Bruno, and whoever. Those are the
Yeah,
two concepts.
I'm thinking as two because Bruno's a little further ahead. Bruno does
that's
what he
right.
wants.
Maino that good.
Bruno does what he wants in a
Is
red
Maino
shirt.
that good? I'm not entirely sure. I'm not convinced.
Yes, it is. Is that good?
Thank
Okay,
you.
so
I'm not convinced.
I mean, we could
once-
talk about that, but
Thank you,
he's
Bucci.
good.
We don't need to. We don't need to. I was just asking a rhetorical question. Sorry.
fair enough. Once he removed Mano, and I actually agree with Ten Hag, and I like the fact that Mano is a mainstay in the team.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think he's the kind of player, the way he holds the ball, he's going to struggle sometimes because he's young. The way he holds the ball is like he wants that midfield built around him. So whether he's playing with Casemiro or Eriksen, I like that. So once I saw that he was off and you're going to play Casemiro and Ugarte, you don't really have a base from which to start. It's not even, the team is not even used to that base, Casemiro and Ugarte. And I think Ugarte ended up coming off in the 73rd minute. So just to summarize, once I saw the change, see, the red card is one thing, but the changes that happen after really decide the game. So once that change happened, I said, okay, well, that explains it. Because you're not gonna be able to build any attacks, hold on to the game without Mano. Eriksen doesn't have it really, on his own to do it. We'll talk about Eriksen. Longer story on Eriksen though. I know people like him for the technique, but even when he was at Spurs, as good as he was, he needed the legs around him from all the midfielders playing with him, from Ali. Losing Wanyama at the time, he needed a lot of that so that he could go on and play.
And this is why I have a problem with this guy. Where, like you say, it's find it very hard to criticize managers. I tend to not criticize managers for trying. Trying is not wrong. What I like to criticize managers for, or I will always criticize managers for, is doing the same thing when it's failing, when it's quite clear it's failing, sticking with a player for too long, sticking with a formation for too long. Like there's somebody. That's why this game reminds me of something someone said last season when we were struggling. I think this was probably around December last season. It was quite a while ago, almost a year now. And he said that in all his time watching professional football, he's never seen a top club that it's so easy to get chances against, that it's so easy to get to the soft underbelly of Manchester United. And it's harder for Manchester United to get to that soft underbelly of other teams. So what he was saying is this, in essence, was that it's easy to get chances, it's easy to score, but no matter what team Manchester United is playing against, it's so hard for them to get these chances.
Who said this?
Because I think it was Chiuso. It was something he said on
Is he referring
said
to
it on
this
WhatsApp.
season or last season?
He was saying this last season, like December or something last season. Yeah, that he was basically saying that, that one person loses the ball, bang, 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 chance. That time that Nana was taking 7, 8, 9, 15 shots a game, that it didn't make any sense, because if you were playing high risk football, in the sense that your back wasn't defending that much, where was the what do you call it, the payoff, in the sense that you were creating a lot of chances? This team was struggling to move the ball. Most of the balls were lost when they were trying to move it. It wasn't like they were losing balls creating a lot of chances. No, they were trying to pass the ball from the back and lose it, and bang, bang, go, bang, bang. So these are the problems I have. Like you're talking about Eriksen.
Okay, Bucci, sorry, I have to stop you, man. You've already had your time for your Man U rant.
I'm sorry,
I know
man,
you have hard feelings today. Okay, you had that time. It's time for me now to talk about Spurs. Okay, I briefly talked about Man U. It's time for me to move on to Spurs.
I'm not talking about Man U anymore.
You can't rant twice, bro.
I'm not talking about Man U anymore. I know Raji had a comment at some point, but
Raji, go ahead. Then we'll come back to Onochi.
Just 30 seconds to just address his honest comments on players and looking at just football. Coaches looking at the football side of players and not the personality side. But I just wanted to mention that every single great coach out there Sir Alex Ferguson when 2002 or 2003 when Beckham had that situation where he was coming in with his hoodie to the dining table, and because of the hairstyle that he was changing every time, that's how Beckham went to Real Madrid.
And Ferguson was wrong for that. Ferguson was
Okay.
wrong.
I mean, you want to go challenge Alex Ferguson,
Yes.
his decision making?
I'm
Okay.
here. He need
Hold
to
on.
come to footy. He need to come to footy. Our footy podcast. He need to
Van
come.
Nistelrooy's situation. Van Nistelrooy's situation
Let's
with
go.
Fergie. Pep had the same thing. Had a problem with Ibrahimovic
Yaya
at some
Toure.
point. Yaya.
Ibrahimovic, Yaya Toure.
That was
Let's
a
even
bad
come-
decision by
let's-
Pep. He was wrong. Pep was wrong.
Okay, let's come back to
Wrong.
recent situations. Pep, his situation with Cancelo. Who else was there again? Even Gundogan before even hold on, Gundogan was be, but Cancelo situation.
Klopp
Arteta with
and,
Aubameyang.
Klopp and
Everybody
Sacco.
does this. Who?
Klopp and Sacco. Mamadou
Exactly.
Sacco.
Come
That,
on, man.
I don't want to go that far. Then we look at
With all due respect, man.
Jose
Sacco,
and the likes of Hazard, Pogba. Like
Boba.
this is very important. You have to maintain because that seeps in, and all three of Sir Alex's books, everything talks about these things. The minute you start letting those things out there linger, it will seep in. We've seen it in so many cases. We saw it against our first manager, I forget his name, but the former West Ham man.
See,
we saw that how
that's
they
why. He
controlled
forgot
that
his
team.
name already. He was probably wrong.
No,
Probably wrong too.
he controlled that team. Even Evra said that the team were controlling the manager at some point. Patrice Evra actually said that. He said that he felt sorry for. How am I forgetting his
Don't
name?
worry, don't bring up his name. I remember his name, but don't bring up his name since you've
But I'm
destroyed
just-
his name.
Someone
so bad.
actually agrees with you, Trudy.
No, I know, 100%.
EJ says
Here's-
Arteta
Arteta
and
and
all
Oba.
bash.
Yeah, it's normal.
Here's what. No. You're missing a point there. Many of those examples that you brought up.
Okay, guys, hold on.
Okay, we got to stick to the football.
Hold on.
Arteta and Oba.
Mr. Steven.
Oba
Mr.
wasn't
Steven, hold
playing
on.
well anymore.
Steven, hold on. One moment. We have spent 1 hour, 17 minutes.
Okay.
We're supposed to spend 1 hour. So the best we're going to do is that we're going to spend another 13 minutes. We have to finish. If it gets 1 hour, 30 minutes, I'll cut it off because
All
the
right,
video editor
fair
is going to kill me.
Good.
I'm
Who's
going
gonna
to
kill
get
you?
murdered.
Who?
Yeah, because somebody's going to have to edit this video into highlight.
Right.
So I'm going to get murdered.
No
But
problem.
it's fine. I'll take it for another 13 minutes. So what I'm trying to say is, you see, like we're gonna pause you, Steven. We're gonna ask.
No. It was time.
Hold on, Steven.
It was time for me to talk about Spurs. I told you, and then you went over here.
Hold on. You're gonna
and
talk
Chuby's
about
coming
Spurs. Just give me a minute. Raji, you have 1 minute. Make a comment. Then Steven, you can round up the Man United Spurs. You can round it up. So Raji,
I'll say this real quick. Every single time this podcast happens, usually, when Manchester United loses, it always turns into this long therapy that everybody else has to sit down through. All of them opening each other's wounds, trying to figure out what went wrong, what happened to us. This therapy season, therapy period where we all have to, and everybody's like, we need to move on. You guys are not as good as you used to be. Can we just move on? And it's just therapy, and everybody has to sit through it. Anyway, Spurs played great. I beg Spurs, please talk about your own, man.
Thank you, man.
You don't need to talk about the losing team.
Merci beaucoup.
Alive.
Thank you. Anyway, okay, so just getting on
ordinary
to
Newcastle.
Hey,
Let us listen to Spurs, I beg.
Stop that. Okay. On Spurs, what I wanted to say especially is after that Newcastle game, it's actually interesting that we have Newcastle fan here and then the Man United game, because after the Newcastle game, Brennan Johnson took a lot of crap from Spurs fans. I don't know if everybody was aware of it, but he took a lot. He had to shut down his social media. There were people with the posters. They wanted him out. Many fans didn't think he was good enough. And Postecoglou actually had to have a press conference and talk about how he backed him and really criticize some of the fans for doing that. And since then, he stayed resolute in picking Brennan Johnson. And the game after that, I'm missing the game that we played after that. We played Arsenal first. He started him in that. Then we played Brentford, beat them, and Brennan scored. And then again, Brennan scored. So I wasn't at the bar today with my Toronto Spurs guys, but I heard, I'm telling you, the whole club is behind Brennan Johnson. And it's a big thing that he's back again, scoring against Man U. It's a big, big game for him because remember, this is his second season in the Premiership.
Everybody scores against Man U. Please go
So
ahead.
we're still, as the team is rebuilding, for Spurs, it's really good to see guys like Werner, who hasn't really excited the fans. We don't really have faith in him as a winger. This game, I believe Son was injured. So we started the game with Brennan Johnson and Werner, who the fans didn't really have so much trust in. So it was huge for us to get this game against Man U. And the way that we did it, creating so many chances from the wings and the finishes from those guys. So it's a big thing for Spurs, not because we beat Man U, because we have our non-starters playing well against substandard team. So apart from that, another point was Betancourt. I think Betancourt is a really important player for Spurs. So when he's in the team, we have a much better midfield, much more solid midfield. And he's been injured. He had a couple of injuries, had a concussion. So it's just one of those games that was a really feel-good game. Whether you're watching the game or the stats or the highlights. So I just want to say thank you, Bucci, for providing us this one. It seems every season since the COVID year, man, you always gives us one awesome feel-good game to bring the Spurs fans together.
I'm going to say this about Spurs. After listening
to let all our
I'm just going to
tactics
quick comment on
properly, and I appreciate that from y'all.
Quick comment on this Spurs. One of the things that I've realized listening.
That's all. I'll leave it there. Okay. I like that Chudy has his head in his hands. That was one of my goals. Before we end, I do want to make a quick comment about Spurs because even in victory, you guys are boring. I can't imagine. It's like I'm listening to you talk about how all of this. What is the purpose of sport anyway? You guys are a boring team. Nobody has ever called Spurs boring. That's not it. That's not
like,
it.
I was trying to find the passion in what you were trying to say. You're telling me about Johnson being maligned.
Absolutely.
Something happens in Spurs, man.
And
you guys won the game. You guys play well, but man, Spurs is a boring team.
And
you guys are in the shadow of Arsenal and everything. So
I beg you, control the situation, please. Let's
move on.
This will put the pressure into my body, man. Like,
let's carry on. Control the situation, please.
Raji is hitting me from the left, and then Onoche is just hitting subtle jabs. Like he's just grinding it down slowly. Subtle jabs. And Raji will just come and throw a haymaker. Bam!
I'm just telling
you. I'll take comments and then we're gonna round up.
I'm just telling you the truth.
Yeah. Okay.
Good stuff. Finally, on the last feel-good point for Spurs is that you guys should watch out for the name Mikey Moore. Is our young winger.'s about 17 years old, and we were able to give him his first appearance in the Premier League against Manchester United.
Right.
That was. I'm just going to tell you that this game.
Okay, I'll take comments.
Did he do anything?
So many opportunities.
He didn't do anything. He just appeared. Like basically,
he's so when I tell you that Spurs fans are boring,
like he didn't score. Like he didn't do anything.
I didn't say Osula came in. I didn't say anything about Osula.
So many opportunities for the Spurs team.
Okay. Everybody, we're going to move on. Ogakwame said the card made no difference. If anything, the red card was great because Spurs no longer had an extra man playing for them. Yeah, Bruno was atrocious. It's been atrocious. Ayo says Meno is very good, but midfield has no balance, so he's misprofiled.
Man, I love it.
EJ says 1 hour. Yeah, it's been a long podcast. Henry says the editor will be all right. And EJ reminds us that like I said, Raji's an equal opportunity hater. Yeah, I mean, when your name is Newcastle United, and every time somebody says United, they're meaning Manchester United. You have to remind people that there's another United in England, and you end up being a hater, you know.
I mean,
So
if that's all you have against Newcastle, then we are good. When we
that's
play
okay.
you again and we beat your ass at James Park, we understand.
Wait.
December 29, just hold on to this manager, man. Hold on to him. We'll figure out which one
Ayod-
is the United one.
Ayodele says Steven is taking the piss. So, guys, we're going to move on to kudos. Actually, we'll have to skip a topic. We're
Yeah.
supposed to talk about whether there's too much football, but there's no time to do that. We're gonna do
Yeah.
kudos and donkeys of the week. We spent too much time with Newcastle and Manchester United, so I apologize for that.
I also
I'm
think we
just gonna
spent too much
say,
time with Spurs.
yeah. What's it called? Regarding the players' union, I don't know. They should do what they feel is right for them. Does anybody have kudos or donkeys for
I
the
have,
week? Anybody
Oh,
have
for sure.
kudos?
For sure.
I,
I have a donkey.
Should yeah, you have a donkey?
Definitely donkey.
Steven, kudos?
PGMOL.
No. Hold on.
Can I
We'll
go?
do
Okay,
donkey
no.
last. Steven, you have a kudos?
Oh man, kudos of the week is definitely Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer is incredible. I think he's a real talent. He's one of those that we're lucky to have been like we watch a lot of great players. It's always good watching young players come up and be great. So I think he'll have a long career. I can't say if he'll be one of the greats of the game, but that guy's special, man. He's actually special. And
Reggie?
yeah,
I was
What's
gonna
up?
say Cole Palmer too. I watched
Oh,
that game yesterday and I was like, 40 million for that kid.
okay.
Talk about a huge bargain. So Cole Palmer, 4 goals in one game. That's not easy. So yeah, I'll go with. That was what I was going with.
Okay, I agree with both of you. Kopama, unanimous
Because
kudos.
of
Almost unanimous because Trudy doesn't have. But Trudy, what's your donkey? We'll start with your donkey.
first of all, let me leave it alone because I'll sound like a hater of Cole Palmer, but I do fancy him. He's a solid player. Though. But I wouldn't be getting as crook as everyone is based on what Brighton played that yesterday. But again, you take what the defense gives you. Anyways, that's besides the point. Donkey of the day,
he
definitely
has to get
PG.
something in.
Donkey of the day is definitely PGMOL. I think for me, specifically Michael Oliver, and of course it continued and trickled down till today, but just the organization as a whole. At this point, I mean, just the kind of decisions that are being made and the fact that VAR looks over some of these things and still conclude some things like, and even I think because the City Arsenal one, like the fact that they literally changed their decisions like 2 times. The reason behind their decision from um, it being the foul that Trossard did to moving on to the fact that he kicked the ball to now adjusting it again. It's just a joke. At this point, they should start thinking about using AI at this point to find a way around it. At this point, if they're going to do letter of the law and no human judgment, I would say that's it.
Okay. Uh, Raji, do you have donkey?
My donkey of the day is, of course, Ateta. I said Ateta. Ateta would have been
Ten
my
Hag.
donkey last week. Ten Hag is my donkey of the week, especially after his interview saying that, he's a very off-putting human being. He rubs me the wrong way every time he opens his mouth. Whenever I watch the Ten Hag come to Newcastle, I always wonder: is he going to shake the hands of the coach, or is he just going to leave like a goddamn idiot? And after the interview today, he now goes on TV in the interview, man, and he says that you know it we agreed at the beginning of the season that we're going to be in this together. He's a man who is delusional. I don't know if he could be coach of Manchester United, honestly, but I want you guys to keep him till December 29th. Please. I'm on my knees.
Look at your
Begging
mouth.
you.
Look at the mouth you're using to say that. Steven, do you have any donkey?
Yeah, my donkey of the week is actually in a different sense from our usual donkey of the week. I'm not really making fun of him, but I think he's probably one of the most unlucky managers right now. Excuse me. It's Oliver Glasner, Crystal Palace manager.
Mm.
I think he's actually a really good manager. He's won the Europa League. I can't remember what year, maybe 3 or 4 years ago with Frankfurt, which is hard to do. He came in at the end of last season with Crystal Palace and was really flying with Mateta, Eze, and then Michael Olise. And then all of a sudden he lost Olise to Bayern Munich, and he just can't get their attack back together. So it's been kind of sad to see. If you looked at where they were from about March, April, May of last season to what they're doing now, their attack is just totally blunt. And I just feel, it's a complete opposite there. And he must be just really just ruined the fact that he lost Michael Olise. And on the other hand, Michael Olise is doing incredible in Bayern. So
I mean, it's good. Hopefully they get relegated so we can buy Olise for what's his name? Is it for cheap? I mean,
bring him to Manchester United. You've not destroyed enough people's careers. How many careers do you want to destroy? Every season, man. That's the only solution. Go and buy player. Go and fix the ones you have. Jeez.
So why are you guys trying to buy that guy from Crystal Palace? Great. Why don't you fix the ones you have?
Are we trying to buy every single Crystal Palace?
Why are you trying to buy Guehi? Yeah. Why trying to spend 90 million on Guehi? Why
it's not as if the person you're trying to buy is going to be better than what you have. Is it better?
My friend.
Is it better than Garnacho?
I'm just reading the comment. I know EJ wants to claim him, as she loves to claim these young boys.
EJ has already claimed him. EJ said Michael Olise. It's correcting the way he said the name.
He's not Olise.
He's already claiming him. I know everybody
Olise.
She claims.
He's Olise.
Everybody she claims, the name goes down.
I know.
The guy's career goes down. So EJ, please don't claim him. So, okay, before we round up, I said Kudos is Liverpool going top of the league. Yeah, fair enough. Kudos to Arne Slot. He entered into the league seamlessly, unlike the other Dutch fraud. It says Donkey of the Week, Eric Ten Hag and Gary Neville, who has already started the whole player find another manager crap. Yeah, that's total crap. My own Donkey of the Week is Eric Ten Hag and Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes have been so out of form that if I was the one, I'd raise up my hand and say, manager, can you rest me? I need a break. I need to mentally recharge myself because I'm bad. This guy. I mean, the only thing that guy seems to run after now is after managers. The only pass after referees. The only pass he seems to connect now is, when he's trying to pass into the pass words into the referee's ears. Eric Ten Hag. That man should have been fired yesterday. I mean, yesterday was too late to fire him. He should have been fired two or 3 days.
Oh, you want him actually fired? Okay. Yes, I thought you just didn't like him. You want him
gone. No. I said last season that he wouldn't do well. Then I kept giving him all the excuses. He needs to get fired, if possible, tomorrow. The earlier you fire that guy, the earlier the rebuild can start.
How many rebuilds do you guys want? Look at Manchester United fans. How many rebuilds? You've been rebuilding since Alex Ferguson left, man. Yeah. When would this rebuild end?
It took Real Madrid a good 10 years to rebuild after them.
They were still winning trophies, man.
No, they were not. They were struggling in Europe. They're only winning trophies because they were in La Liga. If they were in Premier League, they would have been struggling. But guess what?
The Newcastle fan that last saw Stardom in the 90s is talking to you about rebuild, and you are responding to. You analyze the statement, say you are Newcastle fan that been talking about Alexander days in the 90s, talking to you about rebuild, and you are responding. You're honoring him with a response.
Is that lack of humility that is going to destroy you? Don't worry.
You're honoring him with a response. You're the one I blame. You're the one honoring him with a response.
The only fans that always want their manager fired are Man U fans. And the only person that claims more young boys than EJ is Diddy. So we need to be careful. We need to be careful.
So are you trying to say that Manchester United
I'm going to leave it at that.
Pause.
I'm going to leave it at
that. Spurs have fired how many managers compared to Manchester United?
But we don't necessarily. The fans don't necessarily want our managers fired. Our management does that against our will. But every time Man U fans want their manager gone, You always want your manager
Because
gone.
we're used to
Man, did they
greatness.
just
We don't
push
want to
the DD
descend to
thing?
mediocrity.
Wow.
We ain't
They
got
just
time
pushed
for
the DD thing
mediocre.
back to Spurs fans, man. This is crazy.
I mean, it applies to you as well.
How does it apply to us?
I see what Raji's
Come
trying
on,
to
like
do.
you guys are so used to mediocrity that like
I,
greatness.
How does that make? How
If
does
you
that
run into
affect? How
greatness,
is
you
how
won't
is that
know.
the justification of Newcastle?
I see what Raji's trying to do. He's trying to hate on Spurs fans so people might group us in the same fifth or sixth category. But actually, you're 11
You were
or 12
fifth 2
club.
seasons ago,
You
man.
only
You were
were
sixth
fourth.
2
You
seasons ago.
only
What
were
the hell are you
fourth.
talking about?
That fourth was an anomaly for you. Fourth was an
You were
anomaly.
sixth 2 seasons ago.
Fourth was an anomaly for you.
Guys,
Okay.
Wow.
guys,
I don't
guys,
care how
they-
bad
they
it gets for
try to-
Manchester United. I will not have competitive discussion with the Newcastle. I can't do it. My ego won't let me. I'm sorry.
We'll keep on
My ego
stomping
won't
on
let
you
me.
every
I don't care how
season.
bad we do. My ego won't let me.
Oh
It's
my
fine.
god!
You can say all you want.
Mind my business. I can't do it. My
Okay,
ego won't let me
guys.
do it.
At the end of this
Guys.
season, we'll be finishing above you again.
That's fine. My ego won't
And
let
then
me
next
do it.
season, we'll
Nah,
finish
I can't
above
do
you
it.
again.
That's
When
fine.
we
Okay,
start to
wait.
win the
What
league,
was that thing again? You guys finished above us, and you were so happy to go into Europe. And then what did we do to you guys? We sent you
all
guys
right,
to conference
let's
call, right?
end. Let's end. I don't need
Now you
nightmare.
guys are playing in the other side of Ukraine,
there's-
Belarus.
We're not playing anywhere. We're only playing in the English Premier League. Thank you very
Oh,
much. We're not. We're not Chelsea.
Somebody said wonderful show. You remember? Ayo says wonderful show. You remember boxing gloves? And EJ says, "Dear Lord," and I think she's referring to the PDD comment.
It was a good
Ayo
show.
says,
I enjoyed.
Pause. Yeah, it was fun, man, guys. I mean,
Hey, man,
this
good
show
to
should have
see you,
ended 36 minutes ago.
I know.
We're
If it wasn't
still
for the
going
Manchester
on.
United therapy,
No, we can't even end on a peaceful note. We have to keep jabbing on the way down. Down.
I can't, man. Y'all always crack me up, man. It's good to be on the show with you guys.
Yeah, man, it's good to see all of you guys. Thank you all for viewing. I mean, sorry it took us so long, but you know, I mean, I had wonderful guests this week. I don't wish, apart from Trudy, I don't wish any of you football fans any luck. You know, two of you, may you suffer as much as you made me suffer this week.
What's going on? I thought you were about to end on a good note.
Well, that's a good note.
That's a good note, actually.
Yes. May God repay Spurs what they did to us today. Newcastle will catch you. We'll catch you. We'll put some sand in your mouth. I hope.
All right, man.
And by God's grace, by tomorrow, Ten Hag will be catching his P45.
So who do you want? Just as we go, who do you want then? If Ten Hag goes, what are you gonna do?
we'll say Mourinho.
No, they don't like Mourinho. They don't like him.
It's better you get a trainee driver to drive a train
But this
than to get an
takes the head.
unqualified driver.
Wow,
It's much
wow.
better. This guy is a bad driver. He's gonna kill people.
Don't just come looking for Eddie Howe, I beg.
Oh, you know, you know if we come, no, but you know if we come, he's coming.
Oh, Bucci,
I mean,
everyone encouraging
he's
this
living a hard
behavior. We
way.
should not be having conversation
I'm
with
just
him.
letting him know
Why are you
that
encouraging this thing?
He knows.
He's
I
not
mean, we
suggesting
just
that he
need
helped
to
us again. Look at what our lives have come to.
their darling director of football. With all the
And
money.
we have for Bournemouth. Look at
Yeah,
what our
This
lives have come
Manchester
to.
United therapy session.
You
And
see, you're the
just
one that
man.
encouraging this behavior.
Guys, we have to go. Remember to
All right.
subscribe. Remember to like
All right.
and leave comments during the week. See you guys next Sunday. Thanks all for coming on. Have a good
Peace
week.
out.
Thanks.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Take care.